By 1850, Edinburgh was a city of extraordinary contradictions. Its Georgian terraces housed some of the most brilliant minds in the world. Its medieval closes housed some of the most desperate poverty in Europe. The same streets that had produced the Enlightenment now produced something else entirely. Two writers who would give the world Sherlock Holmes and Jekyll and Hyde, both born within a mile of each other, both shaped by the same divided city. And when the wars came, Edinburgh would send its sons to the trenches, survive a Zeppelin raid, and then do something no one expected. It would throw a party. This is the Edinburgh that built the modern world, and then had to decide what it wanted to become. This video uses AI tools to visually reconstruct how Edinburgh looked across these years. The results are not always perfect, but they bring back what no camera could ever have captured. Robert Louis Stevenson was born in Edinburgh on the 13th of November 1850 into a prosperous new town family on Heriot Row. He grew up in the elegant Georgian order of the north side, wide streets, high ceilings, gas lamps. But the old town was always visible from his windows across the valley. Dark, vertical, medieval, full of lives he was not supposed to know about. He knew about them anyway. The closes of the old town were among the most overcrowded places in Britain. Entire families in single rooms, no running water, disease moving through the tenements like weather. In 1862, Henry Littlejohn became Edinburgh's first medical officer of health. His report, published 3 years later, documented the conditions in over 1,000 streets, closes and tenements. It demonstrated with merciless precision the direct link between poverty, overcrowding and death. Stevenson walked those closes. He watched the city from both sides of the valley. And in 1886, he published a short novel that captured the city's essential truth, a man of perfect respectability who contained within himself something monstrous. The strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was set in London, but everyone who knew Edinburgh understood where it really came from. 9 years after Stevenson, another boy was born into Edinburgh, Arthur Conan Doyle, in 1859, into a much harder family life on Piccadilly Place. He studied medicine at the University of Edinburgh, where he encountered a professor named Joseph Bell. Bell could look at a patient who had just walked through the door and deduce their profession, their recent travels, their habits, from the calluses on their hands, the mud on their boots, the cut of their coat. The students were astonished. One of them never forgot it. After the first Sherlock Holmes story appeared in 1886, the resemblance to Bell was so obvious that Stevenson, by then living in Samoa, wrote to Doyle from across the world, "Can this be my old friend Joe Bell?" Edinburgh had given the world the greatest detective in fiction. It had done so by accident in a medical lecture hall because one doctor was unusually good at looking. In 1914, Edinburgh sent its sons to war. A charismatic figure named George McCrae led a recruitment drive so effective that 16 players from Heart of Midlothian Football Club enlisted together, along with 500 supporters, what became known as McCrae's Battalion. 7 of those first team players were killed in action. In 1916, a German Zeppelin appeared over the city and dropped its bombs. 13 people were killed, 24 injured. It was Edinburgh's first experience of being a target from the sky. But the strangest and most haunting story of Edinburgh's war years happened not on a battlefield, but in a hospital on the city's southern edge. At Craiglockhart, a psychiatric facility, the army sent its shell-shocked officers to recover. In 1917, 2 men arrived who happened to be poets. Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon met at Craiglockhart and wrote some of their greatest work about the war, not to celebrate it, but to bear witness to what it had done to men. Owen returned to the front and was killed on the 4th of November 1918, 7 days before the armistice. The Scottish National War Memorial, completed in Edinburgh Castle in 1927, records the names of nearly 135,000 Scottish dead from that war alone. The Second War was different for Edinburgh. The city was not bombed on the scale of London or Clydebank, but on the 16th of October 1939, the first air battle over British skies in the Second World War took place directly above the Firth of Forth, Spitfires intercepting German bombers targeting a naval vessel. 16 sailors died, Edinburgh's children were evacuated to the countryside. The castle became a military headquarters the city held. If this channel has ever brought a piece of history to life for you, consider joining as a member. It helps fund the research, the production, and the next Reconstruction. The link is in the description. In August 1947, with Europe still in ruins and rationing still in force, Edinburgh did something unexpected. It opened its doors to the world and invited everyone in. The idea had been born 5 years earlier when Rudolf Bing, the Austrian impresario who ran the Glyndebourne Opera, was walking down Princes Street one evening during the war and looked up at the castle. The thought lodged itself and refused to leave. When peace came, he made it happen. The founding vision was simple: to reunite people through great art after the devastation of war. There was one problem. The Minister for Fuel and Power had banned floodlighting the castle. Rationing was still in force. The people of Edinburgh disagreed. Hundreds of letters and telegrams arrived at the ministry offering to donate their private coal rations so that the castle could be seen, floodlit at night, for the visitors. The minister relented. Edinburgh Castle was illuminated from the city's own rations for 4 nights, from dusk to midnight. 8 theatre companies who had not been invited to the official festival showed up anyway and performed in church halls and small venues across the city. Nobody had organised them. They just arrived. In 1948, a journalist watching them described the activity happening around the fringes of the official programme. The word stuck. The Edinburgh Festival Fringe was born without anyone planning it, which is perhaps the most Edinburgh thing that has ever happened. Today, the Fringe brings millions of visits to Edinburgh every August. The city that was once called filthy, overcrowded and desperate had become the cultural capital of the world for 3 weeks every year. For nearly 3 centuries, Scotland had governed itself through Westminster. The Scottish Parliament, dissolved in 1707, had never reconvened. But in September 1997, Scotland voted in a referendum. Nearly 3/4 voted in favour of establishing a Scottish Parliament. On the 1st of July 1999, the Scottish Parliament reconvened in Edinburgh for the first time since 1707. 292 years. The opening ceremony took place in the General Assembly Hall on the Mound. Edinburgh was a capital again, in the full sense of the word. The permanent home took longer. The new Scottish Parliament building at the foot of the Royal Mile, designed by the Catalan architect Enric Miralles, cost £414 million, 10 times the original estimate. It opened in 2004. Critics attacked the cost and the delay. But the building itself, its strange organic shapes, its references to Scottish landscape and upturned boats, was recognised as a work of architecture unlike anything else in the city. In 1995, the Old Town and New Town of Edinburgh had been jointly designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. 2 cities on one ridge, medieval and Georgian, dark and pale, cramped and ordered, recognised together as something the world needed to protect. Edinburgh today is home to around 550,000 people. It faces the same tensions it has always faced: wealth and poverty on the same street, global ambition and fierce local identity, a past so heavy it could crush you and a present that refuses to be defined by it. The question of Scottish independence, sharpened by the 2014 referendum, in which Scotland voted 55 to 45 to remain in the United Kingdom, remains open. From the volcanic rock that the Gododin called Din Éideann to the Parliament at the foot of the Royal Mile, Edinburgh has never stopped arguing about what it is and who it belongs to. That argument is the city.